Okay, once more, unto the breach. Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Louis Vuitton, and thank you for stopping by. Oh, who's that? Fuck motive, dear, dear, dear. My word, coming out of the gate a little strong there, my friend. You gotta ease into it, alright? You gotta tease me a little, alright? Don't make me come so quick, okay? You gotta channel that Kamala Harris energy, alright? I'm telling you not to come. Do not come. Whoops, shush you. Hang on, once, as per usual, I do not have the stream ready up on my phone. Give me a second. Okay. Free the nipple champion. It's fuck moi. Oh, moi. I've honestly been reading it wrong this whole time. I apologize. Let me turn this a little this way. How's that? Better. Okay. Anyway, what's up, everyone? How you doing? Said like an Aussie. Oh! Not like moi, like French. Fuck moi TV. Oh. I liked you better when you were fuck motive, okay? Oi. I'm sorry, but I don't speak with a very heavy Australian accent, so I'm going to have a little bit of trouble with that. How old am I? I'm 27, my friend. Yeah. Is it a reference? Because, yeah, I don't know. It still isn't right. Hang on. That's better. There we go. I'm about to resist tonight. Well, were you here the other night? Do you even speak Australia? Not really. I mean, the Australian accent is so ugly. Like, can you... Oh, as far as accents go, like, hey, there's some horrible, a Yorkshire English accent. That's pretty revolting. But the Australian accent is definitely up there, and just how horrible it is on the ears. Big sips. Daddy Longlegs, Long Nuts. Have you changed your name? Were you somebody else from the other night? You can't be racist against English people. Unironically, I think I genuinely hate English people. Seriously, their accents, their food. What the fuck is up with English food, right? I hate that fish and chips is associated with England, when English fish and chips is that fucking revolting. But Australian fish and chips, and that's some good shit. Give me a... Is that meant to be Risty or Resisty? Ah. I don't know about Poms. I care about you being racist to Australia. How can I be racist to Australians when I am Australian? It's funny because you go watch, like, ABC Real... Oh, someone deserves to be punished. Who's that? Daddy Longnuts, you deserve to be punished. I'm sorry. And Free the Nipple Champion, both of you deserve to be punished. Thanks for the follows. You're trying to say me, as a Curie, isn't Australian? Well, I mean, I'm an anarchist, so I don't believe in borders or citizenship. So if you identify as an Australian, I have no problem with that. But if we're being technical, were you born in Australia? Not that I care, because we should just get rid of the concept of citizenship altogether. Because, like, think about it, like, what does it matter if you've been born in a country or not? If you've lived in a country for 20 years, I think you have a right to vote and have a say in how things are run in that country that you live in. Seriously. So, Free the Nipple Champion, I would absolutely advocate for you to have the same rights as any other Australian. If you're an anarchist, I would straight up boost you every morning. Is that a threat or a proposition? Because, like, either way, I might be interested. So let me get it straight. It's fuck more TV. Is that it? Yes, exactly. Little sips, alright? No big sips, alright? Because I don't want to do a bathroom break. Just keep focused on keeping my mouth nice and moist. Moi. Fuck moi TV. It's like oi, but with an M at the start. Oi, moi. Fuck moi TV. I'm sorry, but I don't have the right inflection. I really don't speak with an Australian accent, so I just don't have the right inflection to pronounce the word. Fuck, I end up saying like moi. Moi. Fuck moi tea. I can't get it. I liked you better when you were fuck motive, alright? Dear, dear. Anyway, since we're talking so much about Australians, let me properly open the stream by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm coming to you, live from, which would be the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and welcome any Indigenous people who are in the chat joining us today. Wait a minute, I said Kuri before. Oh my god, I mixed up Kuri with Kiwi. I'm a fucking idiot. Round up your Antifa mates and let me boss 'em. What is boss 'em? Is it still a threat or a proposition? I actually don't know anybody, yeah, not personally, that's volunteered or done anything with Antifa. Yeah, I'm an idiot, far out. And wait, how did wait, so exactly, like, hang on, my confusion was understandable, because why were you saying that you weren't Australian? Anyway. Yeah, no. Citizenship is dumb. Come on, think about it. Like, outside of lockdown, there's nothing stopping me from driving down to Geelong, right? It's like 2 hours and a bit out of Melbourne. However, between the city of Vancouver in Canada and Seattle in America, there's roughly the same amount of distance. Like, roughly the same time to travel from Seattle to Vancouver. However, if I want to travel to Vancouver or Seattle, or whichever direction I'm going, I need permission from the government. I need papers from the government. There's an invisible line in the sand that says, you can't come through here without the proper authorization. Why? Why? Who cares? I can drive to Geelong, I can drive to Bendigo, I can drive to Ballarat, no problem. All pretty much the same distance, or I don't know which one's further between Bendigo and Ballarat. But think about it, like, I need papers, I need a passport, I need permission from the government. In some cases, traveling between some countries, you need to get approval from that government. Because of COVID. What do you mean? No, I'm talking about, like, in outside COVID times. Like, obviously now, like, I can't, go outside 5 Ks from my house. But, like, outside of COVID times, there's nothing stopping me from driving down to Geelong. However, if I want to drive from Seattle to Vancouver, roughly the same distance between Seattle and Vancouver as there is between Melbourne and Geelong, I need permission from the government. Screw that. You'd need a bodyguard. Are you offering? Are you making an offer? I don't think we should tell people in other countries how to run their country. They voted for it, so that's what they have. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting rid of the concept of state power, in this instance, in the form of a border. I really don't think that just about most people, like your average person, like politicians would probably be different, but most people in countries probably really wouldn't have a problem with advocating for the free movement of people, which is really what I'm advocating for. The freedom of movement, freedom of association. Australia's different because it's an island, but if you look at... actually, no, look at the EU, for instance. A lot of countries in the EU, you can move very freely between those countries' borders with no trouble. But then it's different between America and Mexico, America and Canada, What if people want state power? Then I would call them a simp. A simp, and definitely a bottom. If you're an advocate for state power, I'm sorry, but you are a bottom, alright? Bottom, bootlicker, everything. Cuck even. Oof. You're gonna watch the like, a cop is going to come to your house and fuck your wife in front of you. Because, hey, that's the purest form of state power. Disagree. With what? Remember, you're 15 seconds behind me. In real time. So, if If you disagree, you've got to be specific. And what is bossing? Is it sex or is it fighting, alright? Because I can't tell. Like, you know, you're giving me those vibes. Moi. Oh, let's see, we have a pretty similar crowd to last night. I wonder if anyone will have the guts this time to step up and tell me what they think about feminism. Because, hey, there was so many people yesterday morning who were coming into the chat, and they had a lot to say about feminism. Not that I was doing call-ins on that stream. It was the whole purpose behind last night's stream and this morning's stream. So I was trying to pick a fight. So if a country votes for state power, you would like to go in and tell them no. What do you mean, go in and tell them no? Do you mean me personally walking to that country and speaking to people? Or, I don't know, making videos online, advocating for these ideas? Like, what do you mean? Are you talking about, like, my government going into another country? Like, if you're talking about the third latter option, then that sounds like a pretty explicit use of state power. How do you feel about the gender pay gap? It's a problem. We need to address it. What would you like to ideally happen? Clearly I don't mean you personally, but what would you personally like to happen? I would interested in advocating and helping to promote ideas around freedom and democratization and decentralization. Promoting the ideas for people having a greater say in how things are run. For instance, like I'm a huge advocate of direct democracy. So I'd be really interested to see a combination of representative and direct democracy put together. Because right now, in our representative democracy, we just vote people in and that's it. So I'd love to see a system that incorporates direct democracy, so that whenever a decision needs to be made by a representative, that has to be made democratically by their constituency, and then your representative is then held to that decision. For instance, this is just one example of how we can weaken state power and give more democratic control over the government of the country to the individual, to the populace. It's like so. Oh, you're talking about the gender pay gap. Well, socialism is real. I mean, it's real as much as any concept is. And the gender pay gap, I mean, hey, if you want to talk the gender pay gap, you know what you got to do. And listen, why is that not working? Hang on a sec. I set up these commands. I've done it. Well, there's no... Okay, that's alright. I've got a hard link. Where is that? Here we go. No, where is it? Where is the link? Okay, it's alright. I've got Discord open. I know, it is silly. I swear I've set up the commands. I don't know why they're not working. Alright, there we go. Alright, give me a sec. Try yelling at it. Seems to work with it. Okay, I'm sorry, mate, but I'm making an ultimatum. I don't allow people to spout stupid shit in my chat. And you have spouted some stupid shit. So, if you would like to continue to be a member of my community, I'm sorry, but it's time to nut up. Get into the waiting room in the Discord server. Alright, get into the waiting room and then get into it. I'll bring you into a call. Yell it if you want me to. Now, come on. You've got 60 seconds. You want me to nut? It's up to you, my friend. I give you permission to if you're asking for it. That little... Oh no, okay, cool. Yell it. Yell what? Alright, get into a Discord call, motherfucker! Get in! I'm not playing around. I'm serious. 30 seconds now, or you're out. Serious. Channel rule. I don't allow people to say stupid shit in my chat that they can't back up, alright? You've got to put your money where your mouth is. Either you get into a Discord call, or I just ban you. I don't care. Seriously. I don't allow people just to sit in my chat and say whatever they want. If they say something stupid, and they get called out for it, they've got to back it up. And you've said something stupid about the gender pay gap, alright? Get in. 10 seconds. No recent joins. Come on. 5. 4. Ah, okay. Sorry, mate. After dinner? Oh. Alright. Gender pay gap is a myth, my boy. My friend. Alright, let's do it again. Polytroll, get into a Discord call. Get into the waiting room. Yeah, that's right. Run, you fucking coward. Pathetic. When the right sends their people, is this the best they can do? I think it might be. Dear, 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 dear. My word. My word. Cowardly. Imagine holding a belief that you're not willing to defend. Tisk, tisk. Pathetic. See, that's the great part about being a lefty. I don't need to be a bitch about my beliefs. I don't need to lie. I'm so straight up and honest. I love it. I can just be myself. I don't need to hide. And any chance I get, I'll absolutely step up to bat for my beliefs. I'm just going to bitch it and agree with everything you say because I'm scared of you. Thank you, Daddy Longnuts. Your support is appreciated. And if you haven't come already, then you better get on that. And fuck my TV, you better be serious about that after dinner part. Otherwise I won't be happy. Seriously, this isn't just a speakeasy where you can stand up on a milk carton and say whatever you want. I'm serious, mate. You're on real thin ice. This is my channel. I talk about politics. And if I don't like something that's said, you're going to get called out on it. And if you're not willing to step up to defend it, then you got to go. I'll respect you a whole lot more if you actually stand by your beliefs. Classic lefty? You mean someone that stands by their beliefs? Yeah, that is pretty classic. The gender pay gap is just measuring total earnings without taking into account hours worked and a host of other variables. True. Very true. You're not wrong. But hey, I'm a sociology major, so we have to look at why. Dear, dear. I'm having fun, y'all, okay? I get a kick out of streaming. So why do you think that is? Hey, stick around, and I'm sure that Fuckboy TV and I will get into it. I wish I'd love some nachos right about now, though. 7 cheese pizza. Seriously, why hold a value, a belief, for whatever, and not be willing to stand up and defend it? What's it worth if you're not willing to defend it. Now, I get that some people might not have the most confrontational personality. However, the loudest people that I argue with seem to be the kind of people that would be willing to step up to it, but whenever they're actually challenged on it, they just run away. Is it the simple society pushes girls into certain jobs argument? That is part of the argument. I'm sorry, I only have Discord. And really, if you don't have Discord in 2021, what are you, some kind of boomer? Get out of here. Daddy Longnuts, really? This is the fun. This is the fun part of streaming, okay? I mean, like, the yelling is part of it, you know, because it's all about emoting and, you know, being loud is part of it, but not necessarily being loud, just being engaging, alright? Keeping up the high energy. That's the words I'm trying to find. Being high energy. So how much of the gender pay gap do you think comes from that? Mate, my friend, just calm down and fuck my TV and I'll get into it, okay? Don't worry, all of your questions will be answered. Oh, how about this? Why don't you jump into a Discord call, my friend? You have all these questions. I'm not going to argue back and forward with you in the chat. If you want to know, then why don't you jump into a Discord call, hey? I've already posted the link twice. He better come. Serious. You can't just drop a hot take into my chat and expect not to get called out on it. 5 minutes? Alright. You let me know when you're in the waiting room. Just need to comfort. Fucking hell. Whew. Wait. Free the nipple, are you just Gur Muffins from last night? Is that you? What the fuck? Did you hear that? My fucking Xbox just turned on by itself. What the fuck? Okay. Little strange. Have you come already? Come on, hurry up. Excuse me. Come on, get in, get in. This is not a safe space, okay? My chat is not a safe space for you to spout stupid shit, alright? If you're gonna act like a chud, you're gonna be treated like a chud. I'm waiting on my air fryer to finish. Goodness. Good grief. Air fryer. Imagine not frying everything in peanut oil. That's the good shit. Anywho, oh, what's all this? Oh, see, I've got a bunch of links here from older episodes. Yeah, I don't know. What air fryers are the best. I mean, peanut oil is pretty good. What is up, Monkey Supreme? We have a couple of guys in the audience who kind of a little bit hesitant to step up and defend their beliefs in the marketplace of ideas. I'm sorry, but my chat is not a safe space to spout stupid shit. If you're going to give a bad take, well, you're going to get called out on it. What are we talking about? Well, right now, fuck Moi TV and Free the Nipple Champion are, doing everything they can to avoid getting into a debate. Alright. Taking your word for it in good faith. What accent is this? This is Australian, my friend. Well, if you would ask the other Australians in the chat, then it probably wouldn't be, but I'm from Australia. True. Hey, dry mouth is a serious problem. We're doing a lot of talking. Alright? So I'm guessing you're not from Australia if you couldn't tell? If you couldn't tell what accent it is? Surely it's not that different. Thank you for the follow. Monkey Supreme, you have been bad, and you deserve to be punished. Texas, cool. What are you even debating? We're debating the pay gap, my friend. Pay gap, the gender pay gap, not pagan. I'm honestly not a fan of paganism, because it's still just like, any kind of spirituality is cringe. Oh, also, in Texas, Jesus, what the fuck is Texas doing? What is up with Texas with that anti-abortion bill? That is some cringe shit right there. 6 weeks, when a person can't even really tell that they're pregnant after 6 weeks' time. Or at least it's a lot harder to detect it. So effectively banning abortion and breaking... I mean, well, not breaking, but like... It's an anti-constitutional law, and I thought conservatives were all about the Constitution. Just some part of it. They're top-tier trolling, brah, woman big mad. I mean, that is one way to look at it. The women of the state certainly are big mad. Yeah, that's a hell of a troll job. Shame that it will put a lot of people through some hard times. But I mean, that is one way to look at it. Maybe not the best way. Women be like, true, not just women, everyone. I'm like, I'm not even in Texas. I mean, abortion is pretty cool. It is pretty good. So, yeah. I thought conservatives were all about small government. That turned out to be a lie. Imagine being a conservative and thinking that you're for small government. Can't relate. Now, lefties, on the other hand, lefties are all about small government. My church teaches it's wrong. Well, your church is wrong. Sorry. What's more wrong? To force somebody to carry a child that they don't want? Or to give people the freedom and bodily autonomy to determine their own independence, their own destiny? I'm for big pee-pee government. Well, yeah, I am too, but I'm afraid that the Texas abortion ban is very small pee-pee government. It's a very small pee-pee energy to put a law like that, to introduce a law like that into your state. Real small pee-pee energy. Serious. The big Chad pee-pee energy would be to let people live freely however they want. To give people mastery and independence and autonomy over their bodies. That's what I'm all about. Conservatives, though, oh, they hear bodily freedom. They hear women being able to move freely throughout society. And they go mad. Tisk, tisk. I personally don't care. Well, see, I talked about this, I think it was last night on stream. With an issue that doesn't affect you, if it comes down to something to do with human rights, such as abortion, which is the restriction is an impact on somebody's freedom of bodily autonomy, the freedom to exert, them have mastery over their body without impacting another. So even though you might be personally opposed or just personally apathetic, you still have to support the freedom to people to have independence over their autonomy. Aha! Thank you for being on time. That was a timer for 6 minutes. There's no bodily autonomy. Well, I mean, ultimately there is no free will, but, you know. We have to strive towards that kind of world. Alright. Free the Nipple Champion is stepping up. I don't see you in the waiting. There he is! Hello? Oh, hang on. I need to get... I need to get in. Fucking hell. Hello? Hello? Yeah, I know it's slow. Deal with it, alright? Free the Nipple Champion! We can't hear you. Check, check. What's going on? Hang on. Wait a second. I think that's my bad. Hang on. No. Output. Wait. Try again. There we go.
There we go.
That was my bad. I'm sorry.
All good.
Had the wrong setting turned on in Discord.
All good, mate.
Alright, how you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
I'm glad to hear that you've stepped up.
Yeah, so
So this isn't Free the Nipple, this is Gura Muffins.
yeah, I have 2 accounts.
Well, I didn't ban your
Long
account
story.
last night. I just put you in timeout after that very graphic message you left at the end of the stream.
Yep, that's probably right.
Tisk, tisk, my friend.
Yeah,
I did
fair
not
enough.
consent to receiving that message.
Fair enough. I didn't consent to seeing your stream, so we're even.
You're in it, right? And what are you doing here?
All right, that all
You can
seriousness.
click off at any time, alright?
All seriousness, what's your problem with the gender pay gap?
What's my problem with it? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm asserting that the gender pay gap is real and that it affects people in our society.
Yeah, I'm asking why is it bad?
Why is it bad?
That it exists.
Well, because it goes into... It's why we talk about how we refer to women as a minority, even though women, technically, population-wise, aren't a minority, because they occupy approximately half of the population. They are a minority in the sense that there is an unequal distribution of power, an unequal distribution of economic, unequal distribution of social, unequal distribution of political power. So what are those aspects, which plays into the economic side of things, is the gender pay gap. Women tend to occupy lower paying positions. Women tend to occupy positions in like higher paid companies, but lower positions within those companies. So we need to ask why. We need to examine the social factors that trend women towards these positions. This is what creates the gender pay gap. It is true that the gender pay gap is simply the gap between men and women working full-time. It doesn't account for differences in positions or differences of positions within companies. However, we need to be asking why. What is the sociological reason that puts people in those positions?
Could majority of it not be caused by just women's choice?
Yeah, but where does the choice come from?
Well, they're choosing to care a lot of the time. They're choosing less dangerous, lower-paying jobs. Like, a lot of that stuff comes into it. They're choosing to work less because they want to have a more structured life with home and work. Where men choose none of those things. Men don't care if they die at work as much, so they go to harder, dangerous jobs. Men don't care about family life as much, which, to their loss, they're missing out on family life, but they're making more money from it.
Yeah, why is
A lot
that?
of
Why,
it comes
why do
down to
men?
choices.
Why do men and women make those decisions?
Generally because men like things, and they tend towards things more than they do people, where women tend toward people more.
Why do they make those trends? Where do those trends come from?
That's just the way we've psychologically evolved.
Where does that psychological influence come from?
Well, it's partly nature, partly nurture, right?
I would argue
If I
that.
knew that, I would be king psychologist, wouldn't I? If I knew exactly what made people tick.
I don't know. I don't think we've already got the answer. Personally, I think that it's all social. If we look at, for instance, how we raise girls and boys, if we want to talk about how we raise girls in terms of what you're talking about with like the trending towards a career where they're able to balance home and a career, or maybe just being pushed more into like the homemaker role. Think about how we raise girls. As soon as a girl can, like, as soon as a child's hand is hold enough to grip, we give her a doll, we give her a Barbie, we give her something, and we teach her nurturing, we teach her mothering, we teach her to be caring, we teach her to be empathetic. Like from her earliest age, this is how we raise girls. They emulate their own mothers.
Do we teach them that, or is that something that they already, like, we're recognizing that that's what they enjoy and that's what we're giving back to them?
Well, I would argue that it's all nurture. It's all the social conditioning that they learn from that young age. Because if all women were, like, if women didn't need that teaching, that social conditioning from a very formative age, there'd be no bad mothers, wouldn't there? If they're all naturally mothers, then wouldn't there be no bad mothers?
Well, no, that doesn't work out at all, because the bad mothers come, right? That kind of proves my point, that they're so inclined to have children, even when they don't want to, that they're becoming bad mothers. They're going and having kids, right, because they feel like they need to, out of their own self, even though they actually don't have to, and they don't want to.
Where do bad mothers come from, then?
I just explained it. They're having children that they don't want to have. That'd be more their nature taking over nurture.
Why didn't they want to have children, though?
Because in society, we let people have free choice of what they want to do.
But if they don't want to have children, why would they have children?
Because they felt inclined to at the time.
Well, where does the inclination come from? I agree that even people who aren't in the best position to have children still have that drive to have children. But why would a woman, even if she's maybe not in the best position, why would she still have that drive?
There's a lot of reasons why bad mothers happen. I mean, a lot of it's socioeconomic stuff, but like a big part of that is they don't have stuff around them to go have abortions. They don't have as much birth control around them, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're just asking me, why do people think the way they think? And then asking me, but why do they think that? But why do they think that?
Exactly.
And we've kind of gone into the weeds when I'm just trying to figure out why having a gender pay gap like we do is a bad thing inherently.
Sure, we can get back to.
I don't feel like it's inherently a bad thing. Like, where I feel like you want it to be close to equal, and that would signify to you that it's good, that our society is doing better. But I don't think that it would show that at all.
Do you think it's a problem if there's one demographic in society that's holding a disproportionate amount of power?
Not necessarily.
Why not?
Well, it depends why they're holding that power. What if the people that aren't holding that power want the people that have power to hold it, so they don't have to make the choices? It's the same as, like, I don't want to have to know how to make my car. I give the power and how my car works. I give that power to a mechanic, and then I go give that car to the mechanic. He has that power over me. He could fuck my car up. But I put that power in him. It's a kind of bad analogy, but it still follows.
No, I understand. However, there is a bit of a difference, because we're talking about when I say power, it's a very literal demonstration, because if you're occupying lower paid positions, it gives you a lot less freedom. This is one of the ways, for instance, which makes. Hang on, let me finish.
Sorry.
This is one of the ways in which women become dependent on men. Women are dependent on men in a lot of ways, and one of those ways is economically, because women tend to occupy lower paying positions and lower paid positions within higher paid companies. So it's a lot harder for a woman to have greater autonomy in her life than it is for a man, because a man would tend to occupy one of those higher paid positions. So, for instance,
explain how then, if they've got less power economically, why are women making 80% of market choices?
In what sense? Do you mean?
women, the choices that happen in the market, so the spending of money in the market, right?
Right.
80% of that is done by women.
Is this in a married couple, or
No,
are you
this
talking
is
about like in the
society
actual
as a
like
whole.
in the
In society as a whole, like when spending happens, right?
right?
The market choices are done. 80% of those purchases are done by women. The reason for that is because
Are you talking
they
about? Sorry,
have power over the home.
are you talking about? I see. Okay, so you're talking about consumers.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I would have to ask, why are women drawn towards consumption?
Oh, well, they're buying stuff at the home because they have power over the home, where men have power over work. They have power over their jobs.
Right, exactly. But then I don't.
So they're making a trade-off.
I don't. Well, again, like this is kind of an argument that women are pushed into homemaker roles. I mean, like, sure, they might have greater autonomy over the home's finances, but I mean, like, that's still not an argument saying that they have more freedom. Like, this is again like reinforcing what I'm saying in terms of women are dependent on men, because sure, women might be managing the home's finances, but like they're doing it while being dependent on a man.
But as a socialist, surely you understand that women are more free from wage slavery, seeing as their life involves not being at work as much, where a man is completely at work.
I mean,
9 times out of 10, like as a man, you don't have the choice of can I be home as a father or can I be at work. You just have work. Where majority of the time, women have that choice. A woman can go do a career job, and they can be a CEO of a company, or they can be a stay-at-home mother, or they can have a mix.
That's the thing; they can't.
Our economy is built for those people that want to have a mix.
That's the thing; they can't. There's a whole lot less women CEOs, though. Women tend to be passed up for those roles because men are seen as more assertive. Men are seen as more dominant. Not only that, but people don't like women in in supervisor roles.
Like, I might agree with you 40, 50 years ago, but that's not how it works anymore, and how it hasn't worked that way for a long time.
Well, then,
wouldn't less women CEOs be proof that they have more choice because they're choosing not to do those jobs? Where men, they don't have the choice of not working, they just have to work.
Well, men should have the choice of not working, don't you agree? We should allow everyone to have the same choice. Like, when men are polled, they overwhelmingly vote in favour that they would rather spend more time with their families than at work. Unfortunately, men are kind of caught in this catch-22 where they want to spend more time with their families, of course, because they love their families. However, they still have that drive, that social conditioning that tells them that they need to be the breadwinner. They need to be the ones out there supporting the family.
Which you agree women are free from, because then they can choose to be at home as a full-time mother, or a part-time mother and part-time worker, or fully at work.
Well, then they have the inverse though. If a woman has a family but she's at work, she's got the inverse. There's that nagging feeling that she should be at home with the kids. That's her role. She shouldn't be at work. Like, her husband shouldn't be the one that's at home with the kids. It should be her.
But that doesn't happen anymore. They have the choice to work.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, do people still look even in first world countries, people still look down on women who are mothers that are at work more than they are at home.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find like 5 tradcons that believe that, but that's not what society believes as a whole. That's why we pay mothers to be at home if they want to, with social services and stuff. We make that easier for them, and we also have programs so they can go back to work after they have kids. Make that easy for them. We do a million things to make sure that a woman's choice is paramount and they can choose what they want to do.
I would argue that's more to do with neoliberalism. But if we get back to the argument about the gender pay gap, can you recognise that there is a danger in having that power imbalance?
Not necessarily, no.
Can you recognise that there is a danger when women have less freedom in their lives because they're generally occupying lower paying jobs? Like, it's more
Depending on why they have less freedom. Like, I don't think less freedom is necessarily bad if I'm giving up freedom for a greater happiness.
Well, I'm not talking about like necessarily married couples, but for instance, if a woman has a lower paying job, it would be a lot harder for her to be a single mum or to have her own household. It would be a lot harder for her to establish her own household.
So then, like, us neoliberals, as you would call a lot of us, right, we decided that we should have social services that help these single mothers.
Social services is not a neoliberal perspective, my friend.
We've made sure that, we've got a social safety net and they can have this freedom now.
But there's still that social pressure, though. There's still the social pressure that tells them that they should be a mother, they should be at home.
And if they don't want to do that, they don't have to, and they choose not to a lot of the time.
That's
why the richer That's why the richer countries get the less we have children.
I mean, I would like it to live in that reality, but the facts still bear out that the pay gap still exists because women tend to occupy lower-paying positions.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily bad.
Well, it is bad because it gives them less economic freedom.
But it's not if they're still making a majority of the purchases, right? They're still finding a way to that money. They're just not getting it straight from them working.
And that money is making them dependent on their husband.
Well, their partner. Let's not be,
We are using very gendered language, so... Now who's the woke one, alright?
Yeah, seriously though, there's no...
That's the thing, that's not real freedom if you're dependent on your partner. If you have no economic freedom because the only income source is your partner, or at least the majority of the income source is your partner, that's not true freedom.
But I would argue that what if I had the freedom, right, to make the choice I've had a kid, and I want to be at home with this kid and not work all the time. So now, having a partner has given me that freedom.
If you were a man or you as yourself? Sorry, if you were a woman or you as yourself?
If I was a woman and I made this choice that I want to be at home with my kids more.
Right.
All right. But money is a problem with that, right? I need to build a better household for my kids. I need to have more stuff there other than what the minimum I can get with my poor welfare. So I've decided to be with a partner who is going to work to allow me to have this freedom.
But you're making my argument. Like, this just shackles women to their husband.
Well, not necessarily, no.
It does, though. You just said, though, they don't make enough money on their own, so they're going to make the decision to get married and rely off their partner. This is just supporting my argument that it gives them less economic freedom.
Who raises kids then?
Pardon?
Right? If I'm a single mother and I work full time, who's raising my kid? Who's got the kid? Someone has to be there with a child for the majority of those 18 years.
Right.
You can't just have no one. So if I'm a single mother, right, obviously the father's not there. What's my other choice?
Anything. Relatives, hiring a babysitter. If you're... Like, let's say hypothetically that in this scenario that the woman has a higher paying job, then she'd be able to afford that. If we lived in the ideal society...
How do I get into a higher paying job?
Pardon?
How do I get into a higher paying job?
Well,
I have to put years into that job, right?
That's the thing. We need to raise boys and girls differently. Sorry, repeat that last question.
Like, I've got to climb a ladder at work to get a higher paying job.
Right.
To get there, right, I can't just go take 9 months off to have a child and go, I can't work for this 9 months and still be climbing that ladder at the same rate as someone that doesn't do that.
Right.
Right.
Can you recognise how that might be another way in which women are disempowered?
Well, I don't think it's them being disempowered. I think it's just the way the world works in the sense that if I'm working at a job, I'm going to get better at that job.
Well, it is another way, generally speaking, the vast majority of people who can get pregnant are women. So if a woman puts her career on hold for at least 9 months, so while she's pregnant and has a baby, that has an impact on her, on her career that doesn't affect men in the same way.
Right.
Again, and this is just another factor that contributes to the gender pay gap.
Yeah, because women are choosing to be mothers, and their career life is getting sacrificed by that choice. Same as if I chose to not work for 9 months to go be a father and then went back to work, my career would suffer from that. You can surely agree with that.
Sure, but men aren't... first of all, men, for the most part, can't have children, and even that said, take a married couple both working full-time, the man's not going to be affected by the pregnancy in the same way that the woman will, in terms of their career.
Yeah, I mean, we can't change biology.
Right.
So, what do you want to do about that?
Do
you want to force a company to then pay a woman while she's not at work?
Well, I'm just trying to... You said, why is a difference in power a bad thing? And I'm trying to explain, this is an example, which is another way it gives women less economic freedom, less economic power.
Yeah, you're arguing that it's less power. I'm just saying that it's more power because they have the power to have a choice. You're arguing there's less freedom, but they have freedom to choose to have a child or not, and choose to stay at home or not stay at home.
Again, but like this is a couple of things. Like the staying at home isn't really giving you freedom because that makes you dependent on your husband's income, and going back to like the choice of having children, well, women experience a lot of pressure to have children. Like a career woman who doesn't want to have children and wants to make her career her priority is socially looked down on. Like women's worth is tied to their ability as mothers.
Not anymore, I wouldn't say.
Absolutely. You ask any woman.
Yeah, but like, it's the same with like the COVID shit, right?
I'm sure, like you know a woman in your life, right? At least one.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that like.
I guarantee. Ask them. I'm very confident in saying that. Any woman has felt pressure at some stage.
I could just as easily say I know 20 women that all have felt no pressure, and then what's your response to that?
Well, I mean, individual
I win because I've got 19 more women. Is that how that works?
No, individual examples don't count towards broader social trends.
Go ask woman.
Yeah, but we can look at sociological data, and because women are perceived, or because women have the capacity to have children, that's what their worth is tied to.
Can you explain to me then why, like, in countries, say Sweden, stuff like that, where they have immense programs that are pushing girls towards STEM subjects, they're choosing not to still?
Towards, STEM subjects, did you say?
Yeah, the like, STEM stuff, they're choosing not to do that.
Uh-huh.
And in countries like that, where they, like Sweden, I think you'd agree, is probably more equal as far as the genders go than even in Australia. They are seeing more of a difference in their genders, in their pays and stuff like that, in their job choices than we are in Australia.
In Sweden, I know that Sweden is actually socially has made a much stronger push towards gender equality than a lot of other developed countries.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if a man and a woman go out on a date, the woman will always pay for her own meal and even be, like, insulted if the man pays. Because, like, that's an example of, like, coddling.
In Sweden, right?
So
in Sweden, they're
hang on. Let me like answer the STEM question. I can't speak to the social trends in Sweden, but I know in countries like Australia, STEM subjects are still very much seen as a boys' club. If you look at universities, the majority of a university is made up of women. It's actually a social trend that's pretty recent that less men are going to university. However, in STEM subjects, they're still dominated by men. So I can't speak to Sweden socially, but I'd imagine it'd be something similar to Australia, where those subjects are still seen as a boys' club.
Well, actually, what's happening is, so they've pushed further socially, right? You agree with that, right? Then with equal genders and stuff like that, like the women are seen a lot more equally as men than in Australia. But what's happening over there is they're choosing to go away from those STEM subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting closer to the world that you're saying we should be at, and I agree, we should be equal with women. But what's happening?
Wait, that's not what you said earlier.
What?
You're talking about like,
what is? I just don't think that necessarily we have to be paid the exact same amount as an overall number.
All right, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
But yeah, I never said we shouldn't be equal with women. I just said that I don't think that it's necessarily bad that we have a gender pay gap.
Okay. Anyway, so continue with what you're saying about...
So what's happening over in Sweden is that they're having less and less women go into these subjects than before, right? They're having a trend of going away from that, not going towards more women in these STEM subjects. They're having a trend towards women becoming mothers more than the other way around. Right, because what they've done is they've increased the social safety net. They've increased a lot of this stuff so women have more of a choice. And their choice has been, right, even though it's been unhindered, even though they're teaching girls that this isn't a boys thing, this isn't a girls thing, this is 100% a human thing, right, when it comes to playing with trucks and when it comes to maths, this kind of stuff. They teach them at a very young age all this stuff, yet they're still choosing to go towards motherhood. So how do you explain that if it's not social pressure, which it indicates it's not social pressure?
Without looking at any data, my best guess would be that people just don't want to work. if they have such strong social safety nets, then staying home certainly is a more pleasant prospect than going to university and studying and then finding a job. I'd have to actually look at some information as to why that might be happening.
Right. But why would
That's just my
women
best
choose
guess,
to go
though.
towards motherhood? Why wouldn't they just stay at home and not be mothers?
Again, women have socialized into being mothers.
But over there, they've been socialized the opposite way. They've been pushed the opposite way.
Well, not necessarily. Like, I don't know a whole lot
Like,
about...
necessarily they are in schools. That's what they're teaching them.
I'd have to look at more information about Sweden. I know that in terms of, like, how men and women are treated, like, there's been a push towards equality, but that's not necessarily deconstructing the identity of womanhood to disassociate motherhood from women.
Right, but what they've been doing is they've been teaching them, like, the opposite of what we do here, where we have, like, boys' colours, girls' colours, right? They don't have that. Where we have boys' toys, girls' toys, they don't have that. They don't teach them that. From as early as possible when they have them in schools.
Really? That's
right?
good.
They're educating them. They're not educating them that stuff. It's all gender-free kind of stuff.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, but they're trending towards motherhood more than over here, where the pressure seems to be a lot less on them to choose that.
Right.
Right, so that would go against your argument that it's social pressure causing this to happen. Would it not? If that's true, let's just assume that I'm saying the truth.
Assuming it is true. Well, assuming it is
then
true,
that would prove that you're wrong, right? In the sense that it's social. If I'm right,
I don't think...
but I could possibly be wrong.
I don't think you can get me that easily. I think, again, like, it speaks more to neoliberalism and the fact that people have this option to stay home, and they're taking advantage of the social safety net.
Yeah, but the men aren't staying home.
What are the men doing? They're not.
They're
The
going to
men
work.
aren't taking advantage of the social safety net.
Not as much. They're going to work.
Interesting.
And they're going into these STEM roles that they've been trying to push the women into.
I wonder why men would do that.
Because women have wanted to stay at home as mothers.
Right.
So because they chose that, though. But, like, they don't need to, right?
Like,
they don't need to. There's no pressure for them to, or there's very little pressure for them to, right? They literally are being pressured into choosing a career, and they're going against that social pressure.
You say that, but then this is just supporting my argument that men are pushed into pursuing a career and women are pushed into staying home.
But they're not. They're not being pushed into that at all.
Then why are they occupying those roles?
Because in society we allow people to choose what they want to do freely.
Right.
And we try to open that freedom up to them as much as possible. And it seems like in countries like Sweden, when we give them that much freedom, they choose to stay at home. And men choose to go to work because that's what they're interested in. And even though we have societal pressure pushing the opposite directions of this choice.
I mean, it doesn't seem to have worked out in that respect. It seems like there's still that social conditioning there. Otherwise, we'd be seeing...
Do you believe that there's a world where you're wrong? That you could possibly be wrong and that it's not social pressure causing this to happen? Because that's what would be indicated from this.
What would be the alternative?
That given freedom, people choose to do certain things, whether they're man or woman, and it just so happens that women choose motherhood over work a lot more when they have the freedom of choice.
It just conveniently lines up with my argument, though.
But it doesn't. Your argument is a post hoc justification for why it's happening, even though we're pushing them. I'm explaining how they're pushing towards women going into work, and you're saying that, well, that must mean that society's pushing them to motherhood. They're literally trying to do the opposite of what's happening and what you're saying is happening, but they're still getting the opposite result.
And I would say that has to do with the social conditioning that pushes men towards careers and women towards the home.
But they're not getting pushed. They're getting pushed towards homes. Like, stay-at-home fathers is a big push over there, same as go-to-work mothers, and shit like that. Like, they're pushing men to stay at home more, and they're choosing not to. They're actually going against that social pressure.
Well, again, I can't speak to Sweden's culture without looking at any information about it. But this is just my best guess. That there's still that social pressure for women to stay home and men to go to work. It might not be like institutional pressure. It might be like the work of the government and education to try and push people towards gender equality. However, socially, like social structures, family, friends, that could still have an effect that pushes people towards these gendered roles.
Right, but their society voted that government in and voted for those laws. That's how society works. We can't act like we don't live in dictatorships, especially over there, where the government does one thing while we want another. Like, everyone can complain about Trump, but majority of people voted for him for those 4 years. That's what they wanted to happen. Now people voted for Biden. That's what their society wants to happen. Same as here. We voted for ScoMo. That's what us as a society overall want to happen.
Right.
He's representing the voters, right? So we have to just assume, at least assume that while they're getting votes and they're not getting voted out, that's what society wants to happen. That's the ideals that society is going for.
Evidently not, because women are staying home and men are going to work.
Right, but those laws and those ways are what society voted for.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I feel like we're going around in circles now, because it's turned out that men still go to work, women still stay at home.
Yeah. So all I'm demonstrating is that it's possible that your worldview is wrong. And what I'm saying is that there's a chance that maybe it's just freedom and choice, but you're not willing to accept that. You want it to be, it has to be societal pressure as a true sociologically major. Sorry, I can't speak. Fucking having a stroke. But, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
You go, everything has to be societal pressure and a social construct for you.
Right.
It can't be that it's not, it can't be that it's a mixture of both things.
A mixture of both of what?
Of nature and nurture.
I mean, I would argue that nature has very little to do with how people... nature makes up a very small component of people's identity. Really, from what I've studied, it really doesn't seem to have that much of an impact. Or if it does, very minor sporadic cases.
But the ability for a woman to get pregnant makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Right, so you
alone
disagreed with me, even though I just said that you were wrong.
Right, but that alone, but that's the thing, that speaks to my argument, because there's that expectation that you can get pregnant, so you should.
Right, and if we built a society, right, where there was none of that expectation, and women still chose to have babies more, how would you explain that?
Sorry, say that last again?
Okay, so let's just imagine hypothetical society.
Right.
Right? There is no social pressure to do anything. You can do exactly what you want when you want, and women choose to have children more than before in society now. How would you explain that?
I don't think such a society would exist, because without social conditioning, we don't have any identity. Everything.
Right, so you're just not willing to engage with it at all. You just want to.
Well, it's just like it's a hypothetical that could never exist, because every aspect of but every aspect of our identity is made up by that social conditioning. There's no part of who we are that's not from social conditioning.
Right. I'm just saying, what if we had a society where the social conditioning for motherhood and for working didn't exist? Just that part of social conditioning, not the rest of it, right? So we've got a hypothetical Australia where there was no conditioning to be a mother or be a worker for either gender. That just didn't exist.
Right.
But women still chose to have more kids. How would you explain that then?
Well, in such a society, women wouldn't exist, but you still have people that can get pregnant, people that can't. So I guess that would come down to personal choice if the people that could get pregnant wanted to or not. If you worked under that auspice, then the people that could get pregnant, it would be their choice. But...
Right. So you agree that it's possible that there could be societies, right? Or you agree that it's possible, that this could just mostly be from women's choice?
Well, I would argue that...
It is a possible answer to why this gender pay gap stuff's happening, or at least the pregnancy thing. You agree that that is a possible answer?
I would argue that it wouldn't be their choice.
Right, but you can at least agree that that's a possible answer.
Well, even
though you don't think it is, you think it could be possible.
Well, no, because I don't believe in free will, so I don't believe that it would be their choice. It would be that it's whatever decision they've come to in their mind would ultimately be a combination of social factors.
Right, but you open up a whole nother rabbit hole if you want to talk about free will. Like, we have to, even as a determinist, you have to be a compatibilist and agree that we have to act like free will exists. Otherwise, we just go into absurdity, right?
Well, I'm not a determinist.
Right, but you still have to act like free will exists. Otherwise, why I can just go shoot someone in the head and say that, oh, well, I was meant to do that. I didn't have free will.
Well, you'd have to, but hang on, but you'd have to argue that where did that force come from? What compelled you to shoot that person?
Right, but that's what you're arguing, is that free will doesn't exist.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so why would that compel you to shoot somebody?
But you explain it to me. I don't have free will, so I can't answer.
But then why would you shoot somebody?
Well, I don't have free will. I got forced to do it.
By who?
By social pressures.
What social pressure forced you to kill somebody?
What social pressures stopping women from making the choice to have kids or not?
Well, quite the opposite. Women are pushed into having kids by that social pressure.
Yeah, by who? Who's pushing that?
Parents, schools, the workplace,
So you believe in a society where we're increasing single mother pensions, where we're increasing benefits for businesses for hiring mothers, coming back to the workforce, where we're doing all these things and pushing further towards that. You think that in that society, there's a greater social pressure.
No, I think in that society...
That there's social pressures going on, even though it seems like society's trying to push the opposite direction.
In that society, you would think that it would lead to a decrease.
Right, but it's
now,
not.
As we've talked about Sweden, I don't have an answer for why it's not leading to a decrease.
Right, really but even in Australia, right?
I'm willing to admit I'm not familiar with Sweden's culture.
Yeah, so let's just talk about Australia, right? Right. In Australia, we're pushing towards more, we keep pushing towards higher welfare for single parents, right? We've got heaps of different... Yeah, we do. And we've got free dental for kids. We've got... What do you mean? That's what we've been pushing for forever. We have free Medicare for kids. Your youngest child up to the age of 6, you get paid as much as possible from the Centrelink. It's not until they turn 6 that your payments start going down. All right. We also have different grants and bonuses to companies for hiring you if you're coming back to work as a mother.
Right.
Right. We have heaps of different incentives, and we're voting that in as a society. We want that as a society, right?
Yeah.
You can at least agree with that, right? So then, if we're pushing towards that, couldn't you agree that we're also trying to push as a society away from this, women are mothers, and that kind of idea?
Absolutely.
Right, so then why would social pressure be pushing them towards being a mother when we're trying to push the opposite direction?
Well, both of them are happening at the same time. There's still the pressure, like baby boomers are still alive. They're, I guess, grandparents by now. There's still, absolutely, there is pressure in, the economy, for instance, which does encourage women to pursue a career or provide support for women that want to be mothers and continue to work. That's less to do with gender equality and more about how many workers you can have in the business. But I mean, if I'm not denying that this support and these bonuses don't exist. However, if they had achieved their goal, then the gender pay gap wouldn't exist, or at least it'd be much more permissible, accounting just for time off for pregnancy, for instance.
Right, but we've got to grant that a majority of this pay gap is coming from choice, and it's not coming from anything else, and that's why it's happening. That's why, they're choosing to do less dangerous jobs as well.
Right, but then they're
choosing to do more dangerous.
But then it
jobs.
brings us back around to the start.
Right.
Why do women pursue those roles?
Because that's where they want to be. And you agreed with me that in a society where there wasn't as much pressure on them, or any pressure on them to choose which one, then that would be what they want.
I agree that in a society with no social forces whatsoever,
right,
which couldn't exist, but there is social forces.
Right, but they're at a minimum.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I guess we just live in a different society then. You live in a world where, societal pressures at a high then, and that it's extremely bad, I guess. I mean, that's in the real world where I live, we're at a very, very low point, and we're pushing even lower, and we're making things more and more equal.
Then why does the gender pay gap still exist?
Because of choice.
And why do
Freedom
women
of
make?
choice.
And why do women make those choices?
Because they have the freedom to make a choice.
But why
You
do
have
they
to
make? Why
explain
do they make the choices?
You have
Hang
to
on,
explain
that's a
why
tautological
they're
answer.
choosing that.
That's a tautological answer. Why do women make those choices?
Because they're free to make whatever choices they want.
Okay, it's a tautology.
And
Why do
through
women make the
nature
choices?
through nature and nurture, that's how women tend to end up personality-wise. They choose certain jobs. They choose to do certain things.
Why?
You have to explain why that's happening and that it
Well, hang
shouldn't
on.
be happening.
I've given an answer, but I want to know why are they making those choices?
Because that's what they want to choose. That's what their personality
Why?
lines are.
Why?
Why do people have personalities?
No.
is
Why do
pretty
they
much
make
what
those
you're asking me.
choices?
Like, when did you stop being
Why do they
your
make
wife?
those choices?
Because that's where their personality lines are.
And what influences their personality?
Nature and nurture.
So social
Both
factors?
of those things. Partly, yes.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're getting pushed towards certain things. That could be the place that they want to be in society.
And what would drive that want? Where does that want come from?
How do we get back here? Like, how do we get to here from, yeah, I understand that it's possible that they could want to do that.
Because I want to know where those choices come from. Because we don't live in a society where people don't have any outside influence. We live in a society... Can't believe I said the line. We live in a society where we do have those social influence. There's a bat now. We live in a society, all right, where people do have that social influencer. So if women are choosing, if absolutely, like they are making that choice, but where does that choice come from?
Right, they philosophically want to do that thing. That's
Right.
where they want to be personally.
But why? That's what I want to know, and you can't answer.
You're asking me why do people think the way they think, and there's not always a solid answer there. If I knew why people think the way they think, I would be able to sell every product ever to everyone.
Right, and
Right.
my argument is that it's social factors. It's social conditioning from birth.
Right, but that doesn't explain anything. You're just saying it's social factors.
Well, it does
You
explain.
have to explain where they're coming from and how they're still happening.
Well,
even
hang on,
though
I
we're
already did.
pushing
I
away
opened the
from
conversation with as soon as a girl's born,
that. No,
you
you
give her a
just
doll.
interrupted me. You just interrupted. You have to explain to me how it's still happening while we're pushing away from that.
Well, we're making strides away from it in some respects, but at the same time, we still dress girls in pink and boys in blue. If you go to the toy aisles at Kmart, then you can very easily tell
That's
which is the
not how
boys
that
and which
works.
is the girls.
But they don't have boys.
Well, that is how it works because
sections.
Sorry.
Like for toys, they don't have like boys sections and girls sections for toys. They just have toy sections.
No, they absolutely do have girls and boys toy sections at department stores.
But you might see it that way, but they don't have a sign saying boys' toys and girls' toys anymore.
I mean, if you ask any staff member which aisle's the girls' toys in, they'll direct you to the girls' toys. And when you walk into the girls' toy aisle, you know which is the girls' toy aisle because everything's pink. You know which is the boys' toy aisle for the most part, everything's blue. We give boys trucks, we give girls dolls.
I can go buy something for my son, right?
Yeah.
And like a shirt for my son, which I've done, and it's pink shirts in there.
Right.
It's not just fucking blue shirts there anymore. Like, we're pushing away from that stuff.
Yes, but like, can you acknowledge that if a boy wears a pink shirt, there might be some people that ask them, why are you wearing that shirt? Pink's for girls?
Not anymore, no.
Oh, get out of here.
Not anymore, no.
Yes,
I think that's a rarity.
No, I don't know
Honestly,
what
no.
world you live in, mate. Come on. Pink is absolutely still seen as a girl's colour. And
I hung
children
out with my
are
mates,
ruthless.
right?
Come on.
Here's proof, right?
Nah.
I've gone to plenty of times out with like mates, family and stuff. They see I'm wearing a pink shirt and they go, I really like that shirt, right? I normally get comments on a pink shirt on how much they like it more than any other time I'll get comments on my clothes because men don't usually comment on that shit.
And probably because pink isn't normally worn by men, so it's a nice, pleasant change to see it.
Right, but you just told me that when that happens, you get called bad words and... Right?
Yep, absolutely. Because pink is still a girl's colour.
But it's not seen like that anymore. Like,
Then why is everything in the toy aisle pink?
Because the people that make these products are still boomers. And it's not all pink. A lot of it is becoming a lot more genderless. Like, that's the way our society's going. The generation now isn't like this. Like, I agree with you 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yes, that was what was happening. It's not happening now.
Well, then I would
And
ask
when
you,
it is, it's a rarity.
then why does the pay gap still exist? You keep telling me that these things aren't a factor anymore. If that's so, then, excuse me, we would see men and women holding a greater equal amount of power within social, economic, political factors.
Well, you would think that, but it turns out that in countries where they're pushing towards this, where they're becoming as equal as possible, they're having the opposite effect. So, like, I thought that too, that when we make it more equal, this pay gap lowers, we have more women CEOs, but that's not what's happening in these countries. It seems like they're going the opposite direction. So now you have to explain why that's happening.
Well, I've given my answer.
Right, but your answer is the
Your
same
answer
stuff
is
still
they've
happening.
made choices.
Yeah.
And I want to know where those choices come from.
Freedom to make choice. That's where it's coming from. If you put a bunch of rats into a little box, they're going to choose to run a certain direction. I can't explain to you why they chose to run that direction, but they're choosing to run that way.
Well, humans are about it's not really a good comparison to compare humans to animals. I mean, again, like I would argue that these choices come from social conditioning. That's really the only explanation that we have. If we get back to the pay gap, can you at least acknowledge why it's bad for there to be this imbalance between men and women?
Like, I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think it can have bad outcomes, but I don't think necessarily it is.
But, like, for instance, like there's less women in politics, so there's less people influencing issues that affect women.
If more women wanted to be in politics and weren't getting into there because of reasons, then I think that would be bad. But if women aren't choosing to go into there, then I think it's fine.
And then I would ask, why are women not choosing to go into there? But like, can you acknowledge that can you acknowledge that there is negative consequences to women holding less power in society?
That it's possible, yeah.
Like,
as long as you can acknowledge that it's possible that we could have a society that's completely equal, right?
Right.
Right, and it could be completely equal, and then it could also have a gender pay gap, and that could also be okay.
Well,
you could agree that, right?
No, because if there was a gender pay gap, then I would argue that it's not equal.
Right, but I mean, socially, we're treating everyone as equals, but just through the choices everyone's making, even though we're all treated as equal, there just happens to be a gender pay gap because some people choose to go into certain jobs than others. Like, that could be fine.
Right, but can you acknowledge that there is a negative consequence to women holding less power in society? Like with the example of making a woman dependent on her husband's income.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think it could be bad. I just don't think it's necessarily bad.
I mean, we can run through like all of the differences. Like women, like if they occupy less senior positions in businesses, then businesses would make decisions that trend more towards men. In politics, again, if there's less women occupying positions in politics, then women's issues will be seen as less of a priority. Unfortunately, not everybody in politics is a hyper woke lefty, so that's why representation is important.
But we've completely solved these two problems. So in capitalism, right, if you're not making products that women will also buy, you won't make as much money. So then you force that way through profits to go towards building stuff for women and men, right? As far as politics go, we have a representative democracy. So everything a woman wants to happen, she can vote for. She doesn't have to be in there. She just has to vote for someone to represent what she believes.
Right. Do you think it's more likely that a woman would represent women's issues than a man?
I think it wouldn't matter because I don't think just being a gender means you represent someone better or worse.
But do you think it's
that's a bit sexist to believe
but do you think it's more likely for a woman in politics to have women's issues at the forefront of her ideology than a man would?
Well, it depends what you mean by women's issues. Are you trying to say that like women have specific issues that they all want to be solved, a majority want them to be solved?
There's absolutely issues that are specific to women. So do you think a
politician
who's a woman
would
make sure that those... Hang on, but do you think that a female politician would try to platform those ideas to be addressed more frequently in a political setting?
No, I think a politician that's been voted in by women would.
Okay. So, hey, okay, let me ask it. I'll try one more time and be as specific as I can.
I understand what you're saying. That you think that
one
like,
more
you're trying to
time.
get me to say I think a
Let me just
woman
try
would-
one more time. Do you think it's more likely for a man or a woman to prioritize women's issues being addressed in a political setting?
I think neither.
Okay. Well, we'll just have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, but I think that women will vote in the people that best represent what they want to happen in society.
And what if the only people on the ballot are men?
Then the women won't vote.
Why wouldn't they? Okay.
But they won't vote because they're not getting represented. And then you know what happens?
Wait, but
Especially
that's
in a
my
society where
argument. My argument is that
No,
representation
your
is
argument isn't
important.
Yeah, and that's why we have representative democracy.
Right, which is why we need
That's
more
how that
women in
works.
representative democracy.
We don't. Because I don't think just having a vagina means you understand specific issues more than if you have a penis.
Neither do I, but it's
But
our...
you're literally arguing that. Your
No,
argument
no, I'm
is a
absolutely
woman
not.
would... Please don't interrupt. You don't want me to interrupt you. You're arguing that this woman knows more about women's issues
Did I
because
say
she's
that?
a woman.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you said
Did I
she's
say
more
that? Did I
likely
say
to
those
know
words?
that.
I don't remember saying those words.
You
What I
literally
said, what I said,
a woman
what
is
I
more
said,
likely to
what I
understand
said,
women's issues.
what I said was, do you think it's more likely that a woman will platform women's issues than a man?
Right.
That's what I said.
And you believe that because she's a woman and not a man.
I think that it is more likely that a female politician would platform women's issues than a male one would. I absolutely am totally cool with making that intuitive decision.
Right, well, it might seem intuitive. You know, how it works in representative democracy is we vote for people that represent us. And women choose to vote for these people, these certain people, into government because they represent them.
Right. If there was a man who was running a platform that was better than a woman's when it came to women's issues, then that's the best candidate for the job. However, if we're just talking intuitively, then yes, it's more likely that a woman will represent a women's issues.
So, like, you can understand then, right? As a politician, my job is to get as many votes as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my job. I need to get voted in.
Right.
So it's my job to represent as many people as possible that will vote for me.
Right.
So then, given a representative democracy, it's in our politicians' interest to represent women as much as men.
Right.
But you're arguing that that's not the case.
No. Again, I'm arguing that it's more likely that a woman will platform women's issues than a man. Even that said, women tend to be more inclined to voting for men over women in politics because politics is still seen as a boys' club.
But that's just because there's more men that are running than women.
Even so, it's less likely. Like the female candidates are less likely to receive the support than male candidates.
Right, so could that be because just being a woman doesn't mean you'll represent those issues and platform those issues more likely? That instead, that they're voting for the people that represent them the most?
Well, it's because politics is still seen as a boys' club.
And it can't be that they're choosing who represents them better.
Well,
You don't think that that's possible? That you think that it's more likely that it's because it's seen as a men's club?
I would say it's more likely that it's seen as a men's club.
Right. So we don't actually live in a representative democracy. We just feel like we do, and we just vote for people because they're either a man or a woman over that person represents me.
Well, no, no, not at all, because women tend to vote more for men than they do for women.
Right, but that's inconsequential if they're voting for the people that represent them.
Well, they might represent their ideas, sure, but they wouldn't represent them as a gender.
But that doesn't need to happen.
Well, my argument is that
represented as a person.
Yes, but that's been my whole argument, that it's important that there's an equal distribution of power. It's important
right,
that
and I'm voting for someone who represents me and giving them the power. Whether they're a man or a woman makes no difference. I just want them to feel the same way I do about certain issues.
Sure, but our representative democracy should reflect our society's demographics.
Why? You have to explain why that has
Because
to happen.
then this leads to this unequal distribution in power that we see reflected in our society.
But you just agreed with me that we vote for people who represent us. So now you're saying that even if, right, all women were voting for people that 100% represent them, then even if they're all mostly men, it wouldn't be good enough because they have to be half women, half men.
When you mean represent them, do you mean represent them in their identity or represent them as their political
beliefs?
Okay,
their beliefs and their ideals.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So like women are voting for people who represent them in their ideals and their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we set up our democracy.
Right.
So we don't need to have women there if they're not the people that are getting voted in, right?
But that's my point, is that we do, because then that leads to this unequal distribution of power. Like, some political systems have got I think Germany has a gender requirement, and so, like other industries will, like, have gender like required amounts as well. Like firefighters have like a gendered requirement. Like I'm not
that
exactly
hasn't worked
like
anywhere it's happened.
Like,
right?
I'm not
where we put quotas in.
Well, I mean, like they have to meet the quota because that's just like the law. But I would much rather see the culture changed so that it's not seen as a gendered environment.
Yeah.
Right.
And if that happens, then that happens because that's what society wants. But I'm just saying, you're saying that we need more women in politics because we need more women.
No, I'm saying that we need more women in politics so that there's not this unequal distribution of power and that our society is better represented.
Right, but you also agree that it's possible that women are voting in people that represent their ideals and stuff the most, and they could just also happen to be men.
There's also that factor that politics is still seen as a boys' club.
But wouldn't it make way more logical sense that instead of people having these pressures to vote for men and all this stuff, where we have freedom to vote who we want and who we want, we just pick who best matches us. That's why we get people like Pauline Hanson here voted in every now and then, because people vote for who they think represents them. That it's just makes way more sense and it's way more logical that they're just voting for the people that represent them and their ideals the most, and that they don't actually care if they're a man or a woman, because most people would say if they're women like Pauline Hanson, I don't want them in politics, whether it's a woman or not. But you would say that, but at least we have more women, even if they're going in even if they don't match your ideals, they still represent women.
Well, I don't want women for the sake of women, but it just doesn't work out that way. Even if candidates more accurately support a person's ideals, if they're a woman, they're still more likely to vote for a man.
Right, because those men they're voting for, right, are matching the ideals.
No. Even in the case of when female candidates represent more of their beliefs, they're still more likely to vote for men.
Right, so you're telling me that women are voting for men that they don't want to be elected over a woman they do want to be elected because they would prefer a man.
Not necessarily like don't want to be elected, but
well, when we
men are more of their first choice. Men are more likely to be their first choice, even if they agree with a woman more.
But they wouldn't vote for someone that they agree with less.
But they do.
That doesn't make sense.
They do,
that's
though.
Not how it works.
They do.
You'd have to show me something on that, because there's no way I can believe that.
Sure, I'd have to look it up, but I can maybe send you a study at another time.
Yeah, because, I mean, especially in Australia, we can just write, I vote for Joe Blow on there, and it doesn't matter. Like, we don't have no pressure to vote for a specific person, we just have pressure to vote. So, I think that we would, in that circumstance, we would just choose the people that we agree with the most, because we're voting anyways.
In the ideal society, sure, but I mean, there's still a lot of gendered social influence.
And you would like that to be more of a direct democracy then?
Huh? Wait.
And so you, like, as a...
Are we moving on to a different point?
Well, like, I'm just trying to figure out the solution to this then, right? Like, other than, hey, we're voting for people that represent us, and that's not good enough, how would we solve that in your world?
I mean, the solution would be to break down the gendered roles, make politics seen less as a boys' club, raise boys and girls differently, raise them much more in a similar fashion.
Well, we're moving towards that.
I hope so. I hope to live to see it. I don't think I will live to see the abolition of gender. However,
not necessarily the abolition of gender, but the other stuff we're moving towards, right?
We are making progress. I mean, the existence of the gender pay gap is demonstrative that we're not there yet, but absolutely, we're making progress.
I just don't think it demonstrates that, but we're just going to be looping.
I mean, then the pay gap wouldn't exist. Can you at least not acknowledge that it is negative that women have less freedom as a result?
If women have less freedom as a result, then that would be negative, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I just don't...
That's all I needed, okay? That's all I needed.
I just don't believe that they necessarily do. Like, that's my argument.
That's okay.
Like, it's not that I think women should have less freedom. I think they have more freedom at the moment than men.
Okay. We've been over that one, okay?
We're going to disagree.
But we've gone on for a while. I think, I gotta know, does Fuck Moy TV still want to get in? Anyway, alright. Mate, if you want to get in the waiting room. But look,
cheers for the chat, mate.
No, seriously, thank you for coming on, alright? This is why I stream, okay? So,
it's good fun.
You've given me something to think about. I'll see if I can find that study. Hopefully I've given you something to think about as well, alright?
Yeah.
Take it easy. Have a good night. Alright. I wasn't keeping up so much with the chat over that. It was a little hard. You guys are going nuts, though. Also, okay, so... some of y'all... Oh, he's in the waiting room. Okay, let me just explain this one thing first. Some of y'all need to go to Google and type in the Socratic method and look up what that is, okay? Jesus. I'm going nuts because it's raining. I can't go outside. Damn, sorry about that. Alright. Let's go! Good evening.
You got me?
I can hear you. Loud and clear.
That's mate.
Alright, what's your contention? Was it it's so much has gone past now. Is it the pay gap?
No. I agree entirely with that whole conversation you just had. So, Free the Nipple Champion, 100% on point, as he always is. Fucking absolute Chad. But I'm going to get banned out of this. I just want you to know that I think you're the most arrogant piece of shit. Mate, you are so disconnected from the current reality of the workplace. And I'm saying that as an employer.
Okay.
Hearing your opinion makes me fucking sick. You are so disconnected. No, I just wanted to tell you that.
Damn. What a shame. What a shame. Listen, my friends. Individual experience is not demonstrative of broader social trends. I don't care what your personal experience is. If it's not reflective in a study, tough shit. And that's my field. That's sociology. What was based about that? Did I not open this conversation by saying that I detest people that won't stand by their beliefs? Really? Come on. Respect to Free the Nipple for actually having the gumption to step up and argue for what he believed. Absolutely. I would respect someone who had horrendous beliefs if they were actually... Well, I wouldn't respect them, but, I could appreciate them actually stepping up to argue for what they believe in. Monkey Supreme, I saw you arguing, saying something about abortion. Do you want to take abortion? At least listen to it? Nah, fuck you. This is my channel. This is my channel, motherfucker. This isn't a democracy, alright? Don't you know that socialism is when whoever is running the stream has control of everything? Aw, monkey. True. Intelligence is being able to challenge your own beliefs. But the only way that your beliefs improve is by tempering them in argument. The only way that your outview, your perspective is improved is by taking your arguments and pitting them against another person. Well, not necessarily another person, but pitting them against opposing ideas. So that's why I have respect for people that actually do step up and argue for their beliefs. It shows that they're willing to have those beliefs challenged, and it shows that they're willing that, hey, my mind might be changed. Monkey, I can't debate you if you're in the chat, okay? You need to get into the actual Discord. But I do think I think a democratic government should do what the people want. Our representative democracy is quite inefficient. There's ways that we could increase its efficiency, such as by implementing direct democracy. So yeah, it doesn't, it never will. Well, hey, I have a political system to sell you. Does anybody else have the gumption to step up and argue for something that they believe in? Hey, I'm willing to listen to criticism. Anybody want to argue the gender pay gap or representative democracy? Direct democracy is the same problem. The propaganda agenda is controlled but by the, I think you mean not by the people, but the oligarchs. Yeah, but that's not a problem with direct democracy. That's a problem with propaganda. And even with that danger of propaganda, a direct democracy would still be more fair than our current system. The problem isn't with direct democracy. The problem is with external factors that influence voters. Does that answer your question? I hope it does. We need good rulers, not democracy. Disagree. Oh man, I wish you could get into a Discord call right now. Listen, I'm a big fan of freedom, big fan of liberty, and rulers? That is antithetical to the idea. There'll always be influence. So it depends on what kind of influence. There's all sorts of influences. There's your family, your friends, your school, your workplace, art, the media, politics, what type of economic system you live under. But all of these aren't flaws with democracy. Like, I don't think you can make a case for saying that the majority rule, like the society shouldn't be run by the rule of the majority. As long as decisions are democratic and equitable, they're no problem. So yeah. That was a good run. That was fun, though. Girl Muffins, thanks for that. That was fun, alright? I'll have to have a look into... I'll have to learn more about Sweden's culture, because I would be interested to find out if they are making that social trend, why more people aren't taking up those roles. Societies have always been run by organised minorities, my dude, and that's a bad thing. They should be run by the majority. The fact that societies have been run in history by oligarchs, by a king, by a vanguard party, that's a problem. Listen, mate, as a leftist, as a socialist, I'm a big fan of freedom. I'm all about freedom, my friends. You're an idealist and a utopian. I simply observe what it is. Absolutely. Gotta dream big, my friend. Didn't they tell you that in school? Come on. If you aim for the moon, even if you miss, you still land among the stars. Yeah, nah, come on. Hang on. As... Oops, not close up. Fuck. As my poster suggests, be the change you wish to see in the world. Isn't that inspiring? Come on. Ooh. Come on, you laggy piece of crap. There we go. I've just taken chat off the screen by doing that. Stars are further away than the moon. Well, then that's even better, isn't it? It means you travelled even further than you meant to. But yeah, it's getting on to 9 o'clock and I have to go to bed by 10 because I get up early tomorrow morning at 6 as normal to stream. So hey, if no one has any other hot takes they want to leave us with, then I'm going to sign off. Why should I be a leftist? Because you should support freedom, my friend. Leftism's all about freedom. Why is it good? Well, maybe on stream tomorrow night I'll talk about why you should be a leftist and why freedom is good, okay? But right now, I'm going to bed, okay? I'm very tired. Everyone, thank you all for watching. It means so much. Despite being a small streamer, I love that I can do this, I can be here and have this platform. The advantage of being a small streamer is that you get to have these really small, intimate conversations. Thanks again to GoMuffins or Free the Nipple for that conversation. And hey, if you enjoy the stream, then hit that follow button. There's not many lefty Australian streamers, so we need more of them. The Slim Shady Vosh. Before I go, let me show you the greatest compliment that somebody has paid me. Let me see. This is the best compliment that I ever got on stream. Come on. Verifying screenshot. What do you mean? Just open it. It's just a picture. Stand by. And hey, if you enjoyed the stream, smash that follow button. It costs nothing to follow. Here we go. And here, further proof as to why you should come on, mate. No, okay. I can't open an image, apparently. Okay, whatever. I'll have to show you some other time. Anyway, I'm Louis Vuitton. Thank you all for watching. Hit the follow button if you want to see more, and join your union. I'll see you all later.